Okay. Now?
Mhm.
Hello, my name's Joel.
Hi, my name is Liz Bradley.
My name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Rowan, and
I have ADHD.
I do the evaluations that diagnose students with learning disabilities. And so, with all of the experiences that I have, whether that's in just my personal life or just at school, no one person is going to be the same. What I see with students who have been diagnosed with ADHD is that sometimes they just need a little bit more encouragement and just need a break. And that's okay. How I got to this job is actually not when I was in high school. I originally wanted to go to school to be a fashion designer or to work in costume design. I toured the school that I went to, UMHB, and I just fell in love with the school. And unfortunately, the school did not have a theater department at all. And my mom was like, why don't you do teaching? Like, you've always loved working with children. I was growing up, I was always in like the mentorship program at school. And so my mom was like, why not try this? And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I think I want to do special education. And I think that really took me back to when I was a student in school and I have special needs. I'm deaf. And so I needed those accommodations. And I was very blessed with the support team that I needed in order to get those. I wanted to be that for these students that are struggling in school. I wanted to, be their advocate and to be able to support them. And then I started working as a teacher in special ed. But while I was doing that, I realized that I can help them and I can meet them where they're at. But I really wanted to look, okay, how can I even be the first line of defense for that? And so that was how I found being a diagnostician. And so I just fell in love with that. I know that in my heart of hearts, even if I'm not going to be a diagnostician, then I'm always going to do something in special education and advocacy, something like that. That's just my huge passion of mine that I've got. So,
all right. What are your strengths? Something that makes you stand out?
I think my strengths lie in the fact that I'm very empathetic because I also have anxiety, so I get panic attacks a lot. So when I see someone who is having a full-blown panic attack, I can help them calm down. I also think that I'm very knowledgeable in some subjects. I can rant about jellyfish and My Little Pony for hours, but when it comes to multiplication, I can't do my multiplication table. So my strengths lie in what I like. My parents say I'm really creative. I'm in 2 art classes, a band class. I'm just a very creative thinker, and that helps me get around problems more.
So, strengths. Boy, this is going to be, it's one of the things that I think some people are very good at being able to switch from one task to another task and then come back to the first task. That is not my strength. I like to say that my attention is fragile. I can focus on something, but there are stimulus that really affect me. Sounds is probably number one. So it's funny. I know all the things that I don't do well, but I don't know how, if there's one that I do well. Maybe it is that sensitivity to subtle changes, or subtle sounds. If I were the one guarding the cave in caveman days, I would like to think that I would hear something or see something, maybe before someone else would, but I don't know. Recent studies have shown that kids diagnosed with ADHD receive, I want to say 20,000 more negative comments, critical comments over the year than kids who do not. I totally believe that because I know that it's just, sit down, be quiet, be still, stop moving. Why can't you just be still? You can't see right now, but my foot keeps moving down here in the bottom. I accept it. I can't stop it. And I don't know if I want to. If that's what my body needs to do, then that's what it's going to do. It is a delicate chemical neuroelectrical balance in there. And why for me that these ideas that, it's just attention or whatever, and not the way that brain is wired that's big frustration for me. One of the reasons why I used to not talk about it. Now I'm going to talk about my experiences, what has worked for me, what doesn't work for me, but being able to recognize the things that play to my strengths and the things that do not play to my strengths. I avoid those things that don't play to my strengths, which can be difficult when you're required to do a task that doesn't play to your strengths.
So I was never actually formally diagnosed. I have two daughters. My oldest is 16 and she is severely ADHD. And so, in learning about her ADHD diagnosis over the years, I have realized, and then realizing that there was a genetic component, I realized probably 3 years ago that I am also pretty severely ADHD. So I am very good at compartmentalizing things. I used to be a distance runner, and you wouldn't think about the 13 miles, you think about just this mile right now. So when people are in an emergency, I tend to get very calm and just, what is the next thing to do? And so I'm definitely good in an emergency. And I'm also really, really creative. And so I can kind of jump from thing to thing, and that doesn't faze me as much as it might the next person. I'm really good at communicating with people. So people tend to feel safe with me. And I think it's because I don't judge. And I don't know if that's my ADHD or if that's just my natural wiring, but I have a tendency to think it's probably due to my ADHD.
What are some struggles that you have?
If someone laughs, I laugh like harder. And so I may get in trouble because of that. And also another thing is I struggle to focus in class. I have to take medicine in the morning to kind of like tone it down a little bit. I can talk to people easily. I can make friends, and it's just like kind of a given for me. Like if I don't make a friend, it's just, I did something wrong.
So I think just like what I said with the satisfying piece of things is like going back to the drawing board and finding out, what works for them. I think that piece of finding out what exactly works for them is really the most challenging thing, because not everything is going to work for everyone. We think big picture, okay, we would love to have this and we would love to have this. But unfortunately, things cost money, and public school is, sometimes we just don't get that money. Now, we know what we want to do in a perfect world, all right? How can we get as close to that as possible? That's one of the hardest things about my job. It's just like, okay, now let's pinpoint exactly what it is.
The things that I struggle with are just interacting with people in general. Keeping still is obviously a big struggle. I'm moving my leg right now. Before I started taking meds, and even when my meds were off in the night, it's always, oh, Rowan, can you stop moving? Or, I'm tapping my foot and they're like, hey, can you quiet that down? But I also really struggle with at school when I'm having to do a subject that I don't like math. It's just I can't really make my brain focus on that task. So I have to disguise that task as something else. What else did I say? What did I say at the beginning? Oh yeah, forgetfulness. That's a good one. I have a hard time remembering stuff. Those are the downsides and the struggles.
Also short-term memory recall. So I will lose things constantly. I need everything to be organized and in a place. And if it's organized and in its place, then I can find it. However, I live in a house full of ADHD people. So the organization systems never stay in place. And so what I find is that I can get emotionally overwhelmed very quickly. So my family will say I have a high flash point and I kind of go off like a firecracker. But then Dory kicks in and I'm over it. I think I would definitely struggle with that frustration level when I can't find things that I've misplaced because I've forgotten them. And I would also say that I have borderline crippling social anxiety. So I am very good with teenagers because you guys are just as weird as I am. It feels more forgiving. I am so bad at small talk with adults.
It is exceptionally difficult. Sometimes I will literally go, I hate the way my brain works. Somebody who is important to me, my wife or the kids, will ask me to do something and I'll go, okay, yes, I will do that. And I accept it and acknowledge that I'll do it. And then I don't. And it is just, it's hard because you can't just tell someone with ADHD, well, if you cared, you would remember. It's just not about that. It's about the thing that I'm doing at this moment. And then some other stimulus came along and took my attention away. And then I was doing this. And then something else came up and took my attention away to doing this. And something that never occurs is nothing pops up to take my attention back to doing the dishes. It's just not the way the world works. You won't know that until you get up and go put something in the sink and you go, oh yeah, I was doing the dishes.
Do you take medication for your ADHD? And what is your journey with it?
I do not take medication. I didn't realize what I was doing when I was doing it in college, but a little bit of caffeine helps me focus, probably because it has mild stimulant effects. All of the ADHD medications are stimulant medications. So the way that the wiring works and the neurochemistry works in our brains is that stimulants have the opposite effect on us. You could give an ADHD medication to a non-ADHD brain and they'd be bouncing off the walls, but you give it to our brain and it's what we need to back off the gas a little bit. So in college, I would always snap a Diet Coke with me when I was studying. And I think I was probably self-medicating my entire life and not realizing that I was doing it. I just knew that it was easier for me to study when I had a soda with me. The right medication for the right chemistry can be life-changing. The trick is to find the right one.
At that age, I don't really recall my understanding of there being a difference between on it and off. It just seemed like everything was always going 1,000 miles an hour and everything's coming at me all at once and it never stopped. They could easily tell when I had taken the medicine and when I hadn't. That was proof enough that something was different. As I entered my teens, my parents stopped giving it to me. And I have tried many different kinds. I've settled on one. I have found that it took a long time to figure out my indicators of something not working. I think that when I am focused on something and that alert or stimulus comes along and draws my attention away, that causes a lot of resentment that this thing distracted me and it bothers me that something dared to come along and take me off my task because darn it, Then I think I'm getting too intense and maybe I need to dial it back a little bit. Those are some of the things that I watch for is how I react type of thing. But that didn't happen until I was in my 40s. Kind of funny how as I get older, I'm starting to notice the trends that have been there for years. And now I'm going, oh, hey, wait a minute. I do that. There's a thing I do.
I do take medications. It has been a lot of trial and error. I've been through all the stimulants known to man for ADHD, and they've worked and then they haven't. There was this one that made me lose my appetite and I got dangerously skinny. One, I got very suicidal when I took it. It was not good. So I'm on anamoxetine right now and it's doing wonders for me right now.
What kind of coping mechanisms do you use in your everyday life?
I can listen to music while I'm doing something. So while my conscious brain is driving, my subconscious brain is kind of hearing this other thing. And I feel like if I can keep those in balance, then I can keep my attention focused on the thing that I pick to focus on. That's the hyperactivity side. And I don't know if I said, so my diagnosis was for the combined, what we used to call ADD and hyperactivity. But I always prefer attention dysregulation disorder, where I can focus, I can pay attention. It's just I can't always regulate what I'm paying attention to. I think sometimes explaining it that way helps people understand it a little more. You'll notice one of the things I do is I can give you a 20-minute answer to a yes or no question easily, and it won't all tie together. It's just kind of the way it is.
So for me, I mean, I've always lived with someone who's been diagnosed with ADHD from the time I was born till now, even now that I live with one of my best friends from high school. You know, it's definitely a lot more neurodivergent friendly. There are some specific textures of things like plaster are not allowed. We don't use the big light in our house because we have sensory differences. But like for my roommate, you know, having things that are cluttered and in our space is something that makes things difficult for her, and it keeps her from fully focusing on her job. You know, there's also, I have, you know, family members with things like executive dysfunction, just trying to like get things done. You know, my sister who hates doing laundry, so instead she uses bins to put them in, and then when she needs to use it, sprays it with some wrinkle release or like toss it in the dryer and gets the wrinkles out and then puts it on. And that's what works for her because that enables her to do her laundry and put her laundry away. It takes less steps and it doesn't take so much brain power and so much, effort to do it. So it's a little more accessible for her. And so you just do things that, okay, well, what is the issue here? And how can we adjust that so that you still meet the same goal, but the path is going to be a little bit different.
Some healthy coping mechanisms I have is relying on my friends a lot of the time. Like, I always feel the need to, when I meet a new person, to tell them what I have so they know what they're getting into being friends with me. I have some healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms. Like, one unhealthy coping mechanism I have is skin picking. Like, I have scars on my arms and my chest from picking my skin when I get nervous. I see this therapist and I'm working on stopping my skin picking because it's unhealthy, and I consider it self-harm because I do it when I'm anxious and I do it when I have nothing else to do. And it hurts, but I still do it anyway. Other coping mechanisms I have is I draw on myself. Just what I do to help get my mind off the fact that I want to pick, and it's honestly helped me a lot. Even though it might leave stains on my skin, it's helped me a lot more than this. So
a lot of people will think that it's a sign of ADHD is you're doing something and, oh yeah, I need to go over there and do something. And then you get in there and you're like, okay, now why did I come in here? And that's kind of like it, ADHD, but ADHD is you get up, you go into the other room and you notice there's stuff in the dishwasher and you go and start doing that and putting it away. And then the dryer goes off. Oh, I need to go take clothes out of the dryer and put the clothes in the washer in. Something else replaces that and pushes the initial thought out of the way. And then you go, wait a minute. 20 minutes ago, I came in here to do something. What was it? No idea what it was. I don't see that until I go back into the room where I was at and then go, that's right. I needed a pencil. And, next thing you know, I'm off looking for a pencil again.
How has being diagnosed helped you? Did it answer any of your questions?
It just has helped me that I am different. I mean, I'm not that much different from my friends at school. I mean, I feel like sometimes they have ADHD, but it's just kind of helped me to figure out who I actually am and stuff like that.
I think it has made me much more forgiving of myself. For the longest time, I just thought there was something wrong with me. I couldn't remember where I put things. And I would have to work so much harder than my friends at school because I can't remember things. So I would have to study things 3, 4, 5 times, whereas my brother could study it once and he'd know it. So it kind of shook my academic confidence a lot that I couldn't absorb information as quickly as other people did. But then once I had absorbed it, I never forgot it. There's a double-edged sword to that. And now I understand, like, I'm going to forget where these things are, but that's okay. It's not like I'm a bad person. Everybody's got their thing. And pretending like people don't have their own wiring is ridiculous and can be catastrophic.
Having this diagnosis has really helped me understand more about myself, because stuff I couldn't explain previously, like random outbursts in the middle of Walmart because there are too many people in there, it just helped other people and myself understand that even though I want to focus on the task and I want to be mentally here, I mentally can't be here because of neurons misfiring in my brain. The labels help me identify what's wrong with me, but I don't want to say what's wrong with me because there's nothing wrong with me, because everything I have is normal, but people will look at me like there's something wrong with me.
The information available now is so much easier than what it was back when I was diagnosed. I've started to recognize my strengths, my weaknesses, and how to come up with coping mechanisms that work for me. Knowing that I have this condition, disorder, whatever you want to call it, then I know that I need to do things to protect it, and I try out different things. It must be difficult to interview people with ADHD because they can be talking to you and then all of a sudden, did you see that?
They can hear the washer going off.
And you hear the washer, you hear the cars outside, you're hearing all these other things, and next thing you know, you're like, what was the question? And so I have to be more forgiving. And that is a constant struggle. Constant struggle.
How are you able to get things done? And what helps you stay on task?
I'm at school, right? And Oftentimes I'll have a friend in that class to redirect me, or I'll have a teacher to redirect me. I don't have the discipline for myself to be able to sit there and go like, okay, let me put my phone away and let me take out my Chromebook. And when I'm at home and working, I often body double. Do you know what body doubling is? Do they know what body doubling is? So body doubling is basically just like having someone else in the room, or it feel like there's someone else in the room. Like I know some people who will pull up a video of someone studying or play music. There are levels to body doubling, as I just explained. But I physically need someone in the room working with me to like help me stay on task.
In my house, we call it making a boom, which is pulling out your clothes the night before. And that started because I asked my youngest what she was going to wear one day, and she made an outfit, and she's like, boom, there it is. Setting out my clothes the night before and deciding, so that's one less decision I have to make in the morning, because I struggle with a little bit of time blindness as well. So I'm always running late. Always, always, always. Lists help me tremendously. Otherwise, I tend to spin. I have good days and bad days. I go into hyper-focus mode, then I just get it all done. Like I did 13 hours of yard work this weekend because I wanted to get the yard ready for Reese's birthday party in 2 weeks. And so it's, you start one thing and then you're okay, oh, but I also need to weed this, and then I also need to do this. And so what I thought was going to be an hour project turned into 8 hours on Saturday, and then another 5 hours on Sunday. And I was happy as a clam. It's because it's the time blindness and it avoidance of non-preferred tasks. So like my kitchen table is currently covered in laundry, and it's been sitting there for 2 days. It's the lowest priority thing on my priority list because I don't care to fold laundry, but it's probably the highest priority on my husband's because he hates looking at it. So, although I would remind him, he has his own opposable thumbs and he's more than welcome to fold some towels as well.
Yeah, I try to, like, again, lock into that thing, and it's like once I get that thing done, then I work on this thing. I'll do it in order. So there's an order that I would like to do it, and I would stick to that order whether I like it or not. I try not to think too hard about it. I mean, if my gut says to do it, I'll do it. So
What's your honest opinion of parents putting their kids' disorder or diagnosis under the rug, or being in denial of it?
Ooh, parenting. Parenting is tough. As a parent of 3, all of my kids are different. And I figured, okay, I got the first one. I'm perfect now. I'm going to be great when the second one comes along. And the second one was different. Well, hey, wait a minute. There was no book in here about you guys are going to be different. I think that there always has to be a balance. I mean, for me, I don't think that it's never the wrong time to talk about things. Being open about it and not using it as an excuse, well, I didn't do it because I have ADHD, so you can't blame me. No, that's not acceptable. But then the other side's not acceptable either, where somebody doesn't have all of the information about what is going on around them or within their brain. Keeping that balance of keeping it positive and providing age-appropriate information. And in the discussion of, let's identify our strengths and let's play to those strengths so that you're able to have that conversation in a way that the child can understand. So I don't think it should at all be swept under the rug. I don't think that you can be in denial of it because you're not going to get a positive outcome.
My mom asked me to get something off the printer for her, and I saw my name on it, and me, being the curious child I was, I read it. And it talked about how I had something called ADHD. I still, after reading it, didn't understand what was going on. So I just gave the paper to my mom and let the world go on as it was. My mom didn't intend for me to read that. And it took a solid 2 or 3 years for my parents to finally just understand that there was something wrong with their child. Now being 17 and being able to talk to my parents about this instead of being like 10, and they're like, we tried to make you normal. That's not what they said, but that's what I heard. We tried to figure out a way around having to medicate you. But I think that kids should know what's going on with them, especially if it's something going on with their mental health. Because I'm not going to lie, it's difficult. It's difficult dealing with this because I want to be able to sit down in class and focus. But instead, just 86 tabs open, 4 of them playing YouTube videos, 5 of them playing music, 6 of them have a random book open. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's been around long enough and it's been known long enough that that parents shouldn't let their denial affect their children. Because both of my parents, they were in denial about it. But after seeing me with my ADHD, they realized that they had ADHD as well. People should be more open to the fact that there can be people who have mental disorders or mental disabilities, the fact that their child might be an outcast. I think that's what most parents are afraid of.
So, speaking as a parent and also as somebody who has ADHD and as somebody who watches a lot of parent student interactions, right? I understand why they would do it. I wish that they would understand how harmful it is. You know, when you're pregnant and when you're looking at this little baby, right? What you want for them is whatever they want for themselves. And I think every parent, secretly harbors this idea that they have just birthed the most popular kid in school, because you want your kid to have an enjoyable and easy path through life. I think that's what every parent wants. So then when you get the news that your child is not perfect, that can be very hard to assimilate. I also understand that some parents don't want their kid to be stressed out and, like being told that there's something wrong with them. Like I have a friend who said, I'm not going to tell my daughter because she doesn't need one more diagnosis. She doesn't need to carry that. And I'm like, but who are you to decide that? You don't know that they may be feeling something is wrong with me. What's wrong with me? The unfortunate part of ADHD is kids know they have it. They struggle, especially when they're younger, to understand what their strengths are. All they see are the things that they can't do. That causes a great amount of anxiety. And so too much anxiety messes with your brain chemistry. It starts to mess with your serotonin levels. It starts to mess with your norepinephrine levels. And before you know it, your brain chemicals are out of whack. Now you have a generalized anxiety. And if your chemicals stay out of whack like that, you wind up moving into depression. And no parent wants that for their child. But if they don't understand that that is the slope that they are on, if they don't get them help and explain to them what's going on, then it can be really, really problematic. I think you are never going to change your wiring. So my philosophy has always been to just to face the dragon head on and deal with it together.
Have you ever been in denial about your own diagnosis?
Not necessarily about ADHD, but about my anxiety and dyslexia, because I've always had 1,000 things going on in my brain thanks to my ADHD, but with my anxiety, I feel like that's amplified. Not only am I constantly thinking about 10 million other different things, I'm thinking about 10 million other possibilities of what could happen and how it could go wrong. That's just how I've always thought, and I'm like, this is normal. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how every brain is. About a few months ago, I did something I wasn't supposed to, and in that moment, my brain was silent for the first time in a long time. And I realized that I do have anxiety and I do have ADHD. And it's just, I want to rationalize it and think that I'm normal, because when I was younger, I always wanted to be the cool kid. I always wanted to be that person that everybody looked at and said, oh my God, she's so cool. Because Rainbow Dash was my favorite My Little Pony. I always wanted to be like her. I always wanted to be cool. I always, just awesome. Just realizing that I thought that people wouldn't like me because of my neurospiciness, as I love to call it. Just kind of hurt a little bit, but it also just kind of made me realize that I am cool because I'm different.
In high school, yes, I thought I just needed to work harder. But no, there was a massive sense of relief when I realized, oh, wait, I'm not broken. I have ADHD. And this is just how my brain works.
Whenever I see my friends answering some questions that I feel like, I should know, and like, oh my gosh, I just forgot about this question. Oh my gosh, how did I miss that? I mean, you don't really think about you have ADHD in the moment. You just think I got it wrong. Sometimes my friends do tell me, you try too hard. If anything, it makes me better because I am trying more at the thing or task that I'm doing.
How did you and your parents react or accept this diagnosis?
I have this one friend whose mom doesn't allow them to go to the doctor to get any mental help, and doesn't allow them to get medicine for their mental stuff that's going on. You can tell that's taken a toll on them. you know, I'm lucky to have parents that are willing to help me now that they understand, because my dad has been diagnosed ADHD. It takes a lot for a stubborn adult like my dad to say, yeah, something might be different about me. You know, I'm really proud of him for doing that.
I think that from what I've learned from what my parents did, I think they did what they could with the information they had at the time. No, it was pretty clear though that I was the kid that was always moving, climbing up on everything. But yeah, I think they did okay.
So my mom passed away when I was in college, but I have a feeling she would have been like, yep, and agreed with me. My dad does not believe in ADHD. I have two nephews who have profound ADHD, and he just thinks that they're bad and they just need to be disciplined more. But my dad himself is dyslexic with ADHD, but it did not exist back when he was growing up. And so he does not see that. But I know exactly where my genetic component lies, and it's with him and with his mom.
There's a wide range of reactions that I've gotten over the years. Typically, when parents request evaluations, they understand that there's something going on. When I complete my evaluation and I review it with them, a lot of times the parents are like, this makes total sense. I knew that there was something going on, but I just don't know it that well. Another one that I have gotten is parents who, and this is typically for students who are referred by the school, parents who don't agree. And so it's really kind of like one end of the spectrum. They're either like, yes, let's get them the supports, or they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Both responses equally valid, but that's kind of the range that I get of how parents will react to it.
I thought they were chill. I mean, I don't really remember, but they just kind of told me, I mean, I have an attention disorder, so it's harder for me to listen and understand stuff. So just try to focus. That's what they would always tell me, especially my dad. It definitely does, like, not get me fired up, but you talk to yourself about it. You're just like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what more I can be doing.
The last question, what is something that you want people to understand about ADHD and what they can and should implement into their lives?
I wish that people understood that we're not doing it on purpose. This is who we are. And it's not a bad thing at all. For all the things that we struggle with, there's so much that we can do that you can't. We think faster, we think deeper, we think more creatively, we're incredibly observant. Everybody is different in their own way. There is no better, there is no worse. For everybody who does not have ADHD wiring, they have some other thing that they struggle with, right? Or some other thing that makes them awesome because they can do it and nobody else can. So I wish that people would be willing to broaden their view. But I've known plenty of stupid rules in my life as well. So there's space for all of us.
It's not a disability, it's a different ability. Just because someone says that they have ADHD or that they have autism or depression or anxiety doesn't mean they're a different species. We are all human. We all have our own brains and our own neurons and our own atoms. We are different, but we are human.
They should definitely have more time. They may work faster, they may work slower. I just feel like they need more time with the person that is teaching them. Yeah, more patience with the kid, and just give them more ideas how to study.
When you've met someone who has ADHD, you've met one person. A person is not their disability. The key is really just to be flexible and to try and just learn more. They also might need some support in order to complete the same things that you've done. There's a lot of differences between just any person. But with someone who has ADHD, that patience and that flexibility is going to be the biggest thing.
It's not a choice. It is not a choice. You know, it's like telling somebody to grab smoke. To me, paying attention is like trying to grab smoke. It's a thing. I can see it, but you go to grab it and it's gone. It's not there. I just wish that people would be a little more open to the idea that there is all kinds of strengths. Don't expect everyone to act and think like you do. because you'll just lead a disappointed life. Everyone will eventually disappoint you because nobody is going to be exactly the same. Think about that. Next time you want to criticize some kid who is constantly wiggling.
Let's make a trade on where we can find some harmony while build up the colors of my self-portrait. Start up a kind of joy, shine as bright like creative strobe lights, nail and glow as the rain and the morning sun. What about sit and listen? Why can't we wait and see for hues and colors that are still to come and then go? Open up as you start to sit and stay in this lonely peace, and celebrate colors are lying in your soul. Let's make a trade and where we can find some harmony while the color of my self-portrait. Started off with a kind of joy, shine as bright like creative strobe light, made the glow as the rain down in the morning sun. What about sit and listen? Why can't we wait and see for hues and colors that are still to come and then go?